The Las Vegas Raiders just had a great offseason where they got to address some needs. For the offense, they got themselves a quarterback and a guard in free agency and a running back and a couple of receivers, one of them a speedster in the draft. For the defense, they got a couple of corners and a couple of linebackers in free agency and a corner in the draft. The linebacker they just got a couple of weeks ago is a big one. If the offensive line and defensive line hold up, the Raiders will be ready for prime time. They have a good group of young, talented players, but it's still highly unlikely they win it all, so they definitely need to focus on the future. What I mean by that is they have to keep the right players around here. And of those players, which ones do you think they should keep? For edge rusher Malcolm Koonce, this is the season of seasons. When he finally got the opportunity to play the second half of 2023, Koonce racked up 8 sacks and it looked like the future was bright for him. He was coming along just in time for his contract year. It was time for him to get that money, but right before the 2024 season, he injured his knee and didn't play it down last season. Fortunately, Koonce still wanted the Raiders, and the Raiders still wanted Koonce, so they came up with a fair deal for Koonce to remain a Raider this year. It's a 1-year, $12 million deal to give him a chance to prove he's the same guy that showed up for the Raiders in 2023. That was absolutely the best way to handle this situation, because Koonce got injured and the Raiders need to know what they're getting. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure he would have been re-signed a long time ago and the Raiders wouldn't have had to worry about it. As it is, the situation is a little scary. If Koonce stays healthy and plays well, and I believe he will, he's going to be able to get big money wherever he wants. If that's the case, the Raiders need not even let Koonce hit the market. Use a franchise tag, whatever they got to do. When the Raiders took Parham in the third round of the 2022 NFL Draft, I believe it was to be a center more than anything. He did play some center in college. He's a bit small to be a guard, and Andre James is Andre James, but that's not how it worked out. He ended up starting at guard for the last 2 years, and he wasn't horrible. However, with Geno Smith coming in to play quarterback and Ashton Jeanty running the ball, you want to see a little bit better than not horrible at guard. You want to see a guard plowing holes wide open for running backs and the quarterbacks being kept clean. You want to see dominance. Parham hasn't shown that in any of his first 3 years. I admire his scrappiness, but after 3 years, there aren't supposed to be any kinds of questions about him being the guy. We still don't know if he has the size to consistently open up holes and handle a bull rush. You don't want to see anyone with those kinds of questions out there when they're going to their contract year either. Parham would already have the safety of another contract if there were no questions about him. As a matter of fact, he might not start this year, as Thayer Munford took reps with the first team at left guard in minicamp. He isn't a lock to be with the Raiders beyond this year himself. He came right along with Parham in the 2022 NFL Draft in the 7th round. He was close to being a starter his first 2 years, but didn't quite take the starting job away from Jermaine Luminor. But it was so close, the Raiders alternated Munford in there with him. Then last year the job was his with Luminor gone, but he got injured. DJ Glaze then took the job and still hasn't given it back. I thought there would be a big battle between Munford and Glaze for the right tackle spot this year in training camp, but all of a sudden I hear and see footage of Munford getting reps with the first team at left guard. This makes me wonder if he was just meant to be a guard. You know about the story of him going back to Ohio State when he could have been a first-round left tackle in 2021. When he went back, they needed a guard and he volunteered to move there, and he was an All-American. Then he gets to the NFL, and just when he had a chance to win the right tackle spot, he got injured. Now he's a left guard. Man, is he just meant to be a guard? And whatever position he plays, will he be a Raider past this year? Receiver Jakobi Meyers finds himself in the contract year this year. There are many that are upset about this and think that his contract should have been done already, but I see why it isn't. I understand that he didn't drop a pass last year, but the Raiders seem to want another year to see what they want to pay him. You don't just give a guy a big contract after he gets 1,000 yards for the first time in 6 years. It was barely over 1,000 yards too. It would take at least 1,400 yards for me to give out a contract based on 1 year out of 6. You gotta look at what the Raiders have too. As of right now, it looks like speedsters Trey Tucker and Dante Thornton are on the outsides and Myers is in the slot. You need that speed on the outside to go deep off of play action, and the Raiders have 2 tight ends to go to on 3rd and 5. Second round receiver Jack Bech is looking to get on the field. Let's not forget about slot receiver Tommy Mallett. He was a college quarterback that's being developed into a slot receiver. The Raiders are going to want to see what that 4-3 speedster can do at some point, so they got to see what kind of role Myers is going to play to see what they play him. Left tackle Kolton Miller is the only one I really have an opinion about. The Raiders should have signed him already, and I still think they need to sign him. Many want to get overly critical towards him because of the way he started the season. To that I say, how well do you expect someone to perform in the NFL when they're not in any kind of shape? It wasn't his fault he wasn't in shape either. He had shoulder surgery and wasn't able to do much over the offseason, so he gave up 6 sacks over the first 4 games of the season. I kept hearing people say what happened to Kolton Miller. I'm guessing they don't know what happened with him this offseason. Some are still complaining about him and saying things like he's done. I don't understand that. After those first 4 games that weren't pretty, he only gave up 1 sack over the last 13 games. He played at a high level once he got into some shape. Miller's been a solid left tackle for the Raiders for a long time now, and he hasn't lost his skills. I guess management feels like they have to see him again this year. Do you agree with that, or do you think they should resign him before the season? The Raiders have some decisions to make. Some of those decisions can be made after this season, and some of them need to be made now. As you know, you can mess around and lose a player by not getting ahead of their contract. It's really hard to say what's going to happen, but there's a big chance that a lot of these decisions are going to be made at the end of the season. That's what happens when you have a new regime, and they didn't pick any of these players, and none of these players have developed any kind of trust with them. That's the bad thing about all these regime changes. Each regime likes a different type of player. The good thing is I think this regime is going to be around for a while. Thank you for watching. See you next time.